Hi there and welcome to this review of the daily devotionals from One Way UK. And this week, which is the 28th of February through to the 4th of March, we've been looking at John chapter 1 verses 9 through to 18. Of course, it's surprising that at the beginning of this week to realise that the one through whom the world was created was not recognised or not given time by those who were actually expecting him. Those people who had been awaiting the Messiah, that when he arrived they failed to recognise him. And it's a reminder that actually God's desire through all of this was not a retribution upon those people for not recognising his son, but rather a desire for reconciliation and a desire for these people to become his children. You see, our salvation is not of our initiative. Left to our own devices, we would hope that things would get better. Left to our own devices, we might think that life was very cruel, very capricious. But it probably wouldn't occur to us that we needed somebody to actually save us out of the mess we're in. Obviously, there are some times when life gets in a very extreme situation, such as the people who've been rescued out of Libya. There were people there, and I've heard them with reports over the radio actually saying, we need somebody to get us out of here. You know, this is really bad. We've been held up. Our vehicles have been stolen, we're stuck here in the Libyan desert, we need help. Now, under those circumstances, we recognise the need of a saviour. But as we live most of our sweet lives, well, it's just a very good job that God's initiative was born of his great love, and that his initiative was to see us saved and to become friends with him again. We had these wonderful words on Tuesday, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. You know, there's an expression, isn't there, when people are talking about ideas and they're trying to frame them, they're trying to conceptualize them, they'll say, let's put some flesh on the bones. Well, Jesus is the flesh on the bones of God. He came so that we can actually see who God was like, what he was like. And John writes, we beheld his glory. And Matthew, Mark and Luke all record the moment when John, along with Peter and James, actually saw Jesus, when his face shone with the Shekinah glory of God, the holy glory of God. And his clothes became white as light, as his face shone like the sun. And you see, John is actually recording for us, for you and for I, exactly what he saw. He is an eyewitness to the things of which we read in his gospel. It's just a reminder, there's a personal account. It's the reminiscences that he had of his first-hand experience of Jesus on earth. Anyway, let's just go back to John the Baptist for a moment. He said of Jesus, this was he of whom I said, he who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. And it's almost as if he's playing word games to our ears anyway, because he talks about somebody who comes after him, but in actuality was before him. And the whole concept of, you know, the way that Christmas gets celebrated as Jesus' birthday trivializes the eternal nature of Jesus, which is highlighted by John the Baptist in those words. And chronologically, in human terms, Jesus did follow John the Baptist. He would have been about 6 months younger. And that was a true statement when he said, he who comes after me was before me. Because yes, he came after him, but then there is something else, and that is that Well, I think it's a good idea to actually, if I express it like this, using the New Living Translation, which says, "Someone is coming who is far greater than I am, for he existed long before I did." And that's really the nub of the issue, isn't it? That he was referring to the fact that Jesus existed eons before John the Baptist or anyone else walked the earth. On Wednesday we considered the abundance of God's grace, and the Message Bible puts it like this: we all live off his generous bounty, gift after gift after gift. The Amplified Bible describes it like this: for out of his fullness, his abundance, we have all received, all had share, and we were all supplied with one grace after another, and spiritual blessing upon spiritual blessing, and even favour upon favour, and gift heaped upon gift. And, I think many of us now know that grace is God's unearned, undeserved favour and spiritual blessing. We're blessed by God because we trust in him, not because we're good enough or have done enough good things to earn his favour. God's favour cannot be earned because he gives it freely, and that is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. We all qualify. And coming up to the end of the week, Friday, no one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared it. It's an interesting time to consider, as we did, one of the different English translations of the Bible. And this particular verse is a good example of why they are. I've often thought, shouldn't there be only one? But I've learnt more since I thought that. And I've come to realise that in fact it is so helpful exploring different versions. So let's just try this. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared it. He has declared God. Let's see what it comes out like. That's a literal translation of the original Greek. But consider the New Living Translation. His only Son, who is himself God. The Good News Bible puts it like this: the only Son, who is the same as God. The Amplified Bible says the only begotten God, who is in the bosom, in the intimate presence of the Father. And then the Message Bible, the one-of-a-kind God expression, who exists at the very heart of the Father. Translators reach out to express the thought behind the literal words, and I for one am grateful that they do. I think one thing that it shows us is the inadequacy, actually, of the words we have to express the wonder that God did through Jesus. And we speak of Jesus as the Son of God, we speak of Jesus as God in one and the same breath. And these things are very difficult for us to understand. But one thing is that when we grasp hold of it and believe it's to be true, then our world can be changed and the light of the sun can be shed in it. Well, have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week.
How deep is his love? How deep is God's love? That's what we need to learn. 'Cause we're living in a world of hurts, breaking us down. But his love